Hello and welcome to this tutorial on Hyper-V virtual hard disk formats. In this session, we will explore the differences between VHD and VHDX. I will also help you determining which format is best suited for your specific requirements. My name is Navneet Kumar. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and the founder of TrainCrash Technologies. Learning objectives of this tutorial are understanding virtual hard disk, VHD and VHDX formats and their key features, when to use which format, and finally I will take you through a demonstration on creating the virtual hard disks using different management tools. Microsoft's Hyper-V offers two different formats to store the virtual machine's data, and these two formats are number one VHD virtual hard disk, number two VHDX. While both serve the same purpose of storing the virtual machine's data, they differ in several key aspects. Let's explore the key differences between VHD and VHDX and help you determine which format is best suited for your needs. Talking about the virtual hard disk, number one is legacy format. This format has been around for a longer time and is supported by older Hyper-V versions like 2008 R2 servers we had. In 2012, we got this new extension VHDX that I will talk about in a while. But let's explore some other key features of this VHD extension. The maximum size, if I talk about, the VHD is limited to 2 terabyte, which means that if any physical server is having a physical hard drive which is more than 2 terabyte, that physical server cannot be virtualized. This was a very big limitation in terms of a virtualization platform where today we want to virtualize most of our physical servers. Next is dynamic versus fixed. These are the two different types of hard drives that we can create. Fixed hard drives reserve the space in the physical disk immediately, whereas dynamic disks grow dynamically. So if you create a few gig of disk, it will take few megabytes initially, but when you start saving the data in that disk, it will grow dynamically. In that case, this dynamic disk was more prone to crash, and that was one of the big challenge with these dynamic disks. If I talk about the limitations of it, VHDs can be more prone to corruption, like I said, that they may crash, they may get corrupted if not handled properly. And this is especially with the case of dynamic disks because they grow dynamically, the data is scattered across the physical disk, their performance was also a problem. Whereas in 2012, Microsoft introduced the new extension which is VHDX. It solved that first problem of the limitation of 2 terabyte because VHDX files can be up to 64 terabyte. So most of the servers, physical servers, we can virtualize today, even if they have more than 2 terabyte of hard drives. If I talk about the key features of VHDX, number one is modern format. VHDX is a new format that was introduced to address the limitations of the VHD that I discussed in previous slide. Next is maximum size. It supports up to 64 terabyte. Dynamic versus fixed. The dynamic disks also offer better performance here and less prone to corruption as compared to the VHDs. If I talk about other key features, the VHDX offers several advantages over VHD, and they include improved reliability. Improved reliability means that these disks or these files are less likely to be corrupted because of the robust metadata structure of these disks. It has automatic recovery. So VHDX can automatically recover from certain types of corruptions. These corruptions can be like metadata corruption. As I mentioned earlier, that VHDX uses a more robust metadata structure than the VHD. It makes it less prone to the corruption of this metadata. or header corruption, footer corruption of these files, or allocation table corruption. So such type of VHD corruptions, or VHD is nothing but the encapsulated file. So the corruption of this file can be mitigated. 64-bit metadata is another advantage of that. VHDX uses this 64-bit metadata that enables it to handle large virtual machines and storage spaces. Coming to discussion on when to use which, if I talk about VHD, if you are working with older Hyper-V versions like 2008, 2008 R2, then you can go with the virtual hard disk format. But since we have discussed many limitations with this virtual hard disk, then it is advised to go with the VHDX in the current and future deployments. From 2012 onwards, these VHDX hard drives are supported, or these virtual hard disk formats are supported. So they offer you better performance, reliability, and features that make it ideal for larger virtual machines and demanding workloads. So they can be good candidates. Let me take you through the demonstration on creating and managing the virtual hard disks. Creating the virtual hard disks using the Hyper-V manager, which is the management tool that is used to manage the Hyper-V servers, virtual machines, virtual hard drives, or the virtual floppy drives. I will launch the Hyper-V manager from the server manager tools. I'm in the Hyper-V manager console, and this is my host machine. On the right side, I have the option to create new virtual machine or hard drive. In this case, I will choose the hard drive to create a VHD. I will say next. I have the two extensions called VHD and VHDX that I have discussed. I will talk about the VHD set in a separate video. VHD is limited to 2 terabyte that I mentioned earlier, whereas we have VHDX, which was introduced in server 2012 and can offer advanced features like 64 terabyte of size support, robust tables, metadata tables that I mentioned, that can reduce the chances of the corruption of this virtual hard disk. If you want to share one hard disk with more than one virtual machines as a shared storage for guest clustering, you can use VHD set, but that is beyond the scope of this discussion. So this is completely a different feature altogether and can be a good solution for testing, training, development environments, or where you want to do guest clustering and you need a shared storage. You can create a VHD and attach it with two virtual machines at the same time. So let us create the VHD first of all. So I'll choose the VHD, then I will go with next. I have fixed and dynamic expanding disk. I will choose the fixed type of the disk here because dynamic disks are more prone to corruption. In production environment, it is advised to use the fixed size disks, where the dynamic disks are good for testing, training, development, testing environments. So they grow dynamically to optimize the space in the physical storage. I will do a separate video on differencing disk, that how we can use this to deploy a virtual machine fleet. Rapidly we can deploy the virtual machines for testing, training purpose. They are ideally not for the production environment. So let us not discuss the differencing disk at the moment here. I want to create it as fixed disk. Then it will ask me the name for this virtual hard disk and the location where I want to store it. So I can browse and define the location for this wherever I want to store this file. So virtual hard disk is nothing but an encapsulated file, as I mentioned earlier. And for instance, I'm storing it into the F drive and I name it as test VHD. So this is going to be test VHD file. I will say next. This is the size that I will have to provide for this virtual hard disk. I'm making it, let's say, 10 gig in size or 100 gig in size. 100 gig will take much time because I'm creating a fixed size disk. It will reserve the space in the physical storage immediately. I can copy the content of the specified physical paths or copy the content of the specified virtual hard disk. So these are the options. I'm going to create it as blank. There is no copy operation that I want to perform, and I will click on finish. This is how the virtual hard disk is created. Now you can mount this virtual hard disk on a virtual machine. All you need to do is you need to create a virtual machine, and this virtual machine is, let's say, test VM. On that virtual machine you want to attach the hard drive, so you can choose the hard disk here. I have ignored rest of the parameters and use existing virtual hard disk, and I can attach it here. So this is in my F drive, and then I can choose this VHD and attach it with this virtual machine. That's how the virtual hard disks are created and attached with the virtual machines. Now I can right click and go to the settings of this virtual machine, or I can launch the settings from here by selecting the VM. And then I will go to the hard drive, the test VHD that I attached, and if I want, I can remove this hard disk from this controller and click OK on that. Because if you want, you can attach the VHDs on the physical machines as well. For an instance, this machine wants to have the VHD, so I can go to the disk management, not here, excuse me. So I will go to the computer management and launch the disk management, or will search for disk management. And this disk management will be, because it's server operating system, so of course on the computer management. So I'll go to the computer management either from server manager or from here, or through disk mgmt.msc command line. And then I will move to the disk management, and from the disk management on this machine, I can create and attach the VHDs here as well. So you can go to the action and you have the option to attach a VHD. You also can create a VHD from there, that you have seen there was an option. So you will choose the VHD and attach it on a physical machine. So VHDs can be attached on a physical machine as well, and in fact the physical machines can be VHD booted, so they can boot from the virtual hard disk also if you have the operating system. After that, you need to initialize this disk. If you want, you can detach this VHD from here. I'm not going to initialize and start with that disk. This is the option to create a VHD from the disk management tool, that you can define that whether it is VHD or VHDX. Here it is literally mentioned that 2 TB or 64 TB, and fixed or dynamic, what kind of disk you want to create, and that's it. The size you will specify. So disk management tool is another tool that can be used to create these VHDs. Now let me show you the virtual hard disk VHDX extensible format. So VHDX, and then I will select next. Dynamically expanding is the default selection here, but I will go with next with a fixed disk type, and then this is going to be test 2, and I will store this VHD, let's say, in a different location. So I will provide the storage location for my virtual hard disk, then we'll say next, and then this is going to be the size of this virtual hard disk. A blank virtual hard disk I want to create, and you will notice that 127 gig disk has been created very quickly. Now you can attach that VHD on the virtual machine. So you can right click and go to the settings, then you choose the controller. Because it's a generation 1 machine, so you need to put your boot disk on the IDE controller, and if it is going to be a data disk, then you can put it on the SCSI controller. Generation 1 machines do not support the boot from the SCSI. Then suppose it is going to be my data disk, where I'll keep the data in of this virtual machine. So here I will choose the F drive and test2.vhdx file, and then will apply this VHD on this virtual machine. That's how we can create and manage these VHDs in Hyper-V Manager. When Hyper-V is installed on these servers, then we get the Hyper-V module for PowerShell as well. So if you are doing this in an automated way, you want to attach the disks in a automated manner or through command line. Suppose if this machine is a server core machine, then you will not be having the option to do it through the GUI, or you need to connect to the RSET tools from remote servers and manage this server. If you want to do it locally, then you have the module. So if I list the modules available on this system, get module list available, there will be a module for Hyper-V, which has hundreds of commands for management of the Hyper-V settings or Hyper-V virtual machine configuration. Here you will notice the module which is Hyper-V. If I want to list you the commands from that module, so get command from that module which is Hyper-V, and you will see the commands listed over here. In fact, these commands will be lots of them. If I show you these commands. Hyper-V, and if I do a measure, so we have 238 commands. If I get the commands from this module with, let's say, noun, where the noun is VHD, rest I do not care, whatever it is, VHD or VHD set for shared VHDs. So I can use that. This is command get VHD, that will get the VHDs from this system. The path you need to specify, let's say the F drive. So from the F, I want to list these VHDs, and F is not an existing virtual hard disk file. Okay, anyways, this is going to be the exact path, literal path of the VHD. So get VHD in the path, and it is in the F drive, and then test.vhd. So I can get that VHD and its attributes. I have other commands that I can use to work with. Let's say I want to create the virtual hard disk. So there will be the command which is to make a new VHD. If you look for the help for this command, so help new VHD, and you can look for full help, which will show you all the parameters available for this and the examples. So there are different parameter sets. You need to define the path of it, and then the size in bytes, and then you need to specify dynamic or static. So fixed, default it will be fixed. If you use this switch, it will become a dynamic disk, and then you can define the logical sector size, block size, or physical sector size. So these are additional parameters. You can look for each parameter's help over here, that what kind of value will be accepted, whether the parameter is mandatory or not. You will see lots of examples as well. So I have cancelled this, and I will show you this help, the basic help for this, where the path is mandatory, the size in bytes is also mandatory. Now to create this disk, I will say new VHD. This is the command, and then I will specify the path for this. So for an instance, the path is F drive and test3 dot VHDX that I want to create. The size in bytes that I want to define here is, let's say this is going to be 10,240 bytes in this case, okay, or the particular size that you want to specify. And in fact, what you can do is it can convert this into the bytes. So it is, let's say, 10 gig, and if I want to make it dynamically expanding disk, so I will define it as dynamic, and then the virtual hard disk will be created. So you will notice that the size that I provided, 10 gig, that automatically has been translated into this size, because the PowerShell knows that how many bytes are there in 1 kilobyte, or megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte. So you can work with that. So it automatically calculates it. This is how you can create the disk. This is the virtual hard disk created through the PowerShell command. Now if I show you the other commands related to the VHD, so we have this mount VHD command to mount the VHDs, or we can convert the VHDs, we can dismount, mount and dismount commands are there, and then we can remove, we can make new. We have the commands to deal with the virtual machines as well, and that is actually related to VM disk. So if I go with this disk, so here you will see that add VM hard disk drive. If you want to add a hard disk to a virtual machine, so you can add it from here. Then you will see set VM or get VM. So these are the commands to attach or detach these disks to the Hyper-V virtual machine. So for an instance, I go with this, and I just took the help for this command, how to add the virtual hard disk drives, to show you the parameters. So if you want to script it out and you want to do this thing automatically, you can always use these commands. I will take the help once again, and there we go. Let me make it full screen, and CLS. Here I go with this help of this command, it shows you that you need to provide the VM name, the controller type on which you want to attach this disk, IDE or SCSI, controller number, controller location, the path of the disk you need to specify. It can be a string value. So for an instance, my virtual machine that I can check with get VM, or it is test-VM, the name of the virtual machine. So I can run the command add VM hard drive, and then the virtual machine name test VM is the name of the virtual machine. You can put multiple virtual machines as well. You can deal with it's an array. The controller type on which you want to attach it, so by default go with this ID, or I can define it as SCSI. Controller number, which controller number you want to use, so integer number you can specify, it is optional. Controller location, the path of the disk, so what is the path? So the path of the disk is, let's say, F drive, and test 3.VHDX I defined on that. And if I hit enter, so it will attach this disk. We have other commands also to deal with this VM hard drive. So if I do get command by the noun is this, it is just an alias for get command. And now you will notice that I can get the virtual machine hard drives, or I can add them. So suppose I want to get the VM hard drive from a particular VM, which is test VM. It will show me the disks associated on that. I have 2 disks attached, and these are the controllers 0, 1, 2. It will keep going in that way. That's how we can attach the disks on the virtual machines. Well, we have seen creating and attaching or working with these virtual hard disks using the Hyper-V manager, or the disk management, or the PowerShell. I hope this tutorial was informative to you. Thanks for watching. Do like the video and subscribe my channel for more videos. Thank you.